Would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Kaye. I'm a producer, rapper, engineer, songster, all of them things from Southwest London. And yeah,
I know that you're currently working on a project right now.
yeah, I am.
Yeah. So what's the process been like for you recently?
Well, I think mainly it's just been getting up, thinking about making a project, then making it. Because, like, how I usually approach a lot of songs that I make, I usually just try and be like, okay, so I'm gonna make a beat, and then when a beat kind of talks back to me or says something to me or kind of interacts with how I think about, like, it gets my brain going, that's when I'm like, all right, this is gonna be the one. Because there'll be times when I'll just be starting to make a loop or starting up with a little 8 bar, and I'm even before I get to the drums, I'm like, I'm not feeling this melody, I'm not feeling these drums, I'm not feeling that. So I think with this, I kind of just started off initially thinking, all right, what can I make this project to do with? Because I really wanted to actually have a project with a narrative. And usually when I'm working on something, especially if it's long form, it usually does actually have a narrative involved in it. So this time around, I just thought, you know what, let's talk about something a little bit more relatable, because in my past projects I've definitely dove in. It's been a little bit like therapy for me when I've done my past projects, because it's kind of me getting out how I'm feeling at that time, how I'm like processing the world around me. Yeah, this time around is more so been about actually trying to get into that mindset of, okay, I want to talk about this process, I want to talk about what I see going on here, I want to talk about what I see going on around. And I really just thought to myself, yeah, let me actually talk about something that is more relatable to other people, I guess. So yeah, I think the process in general of just making a project has been one where I've been, when I'm not thinking about it and I'm not making it, I'm doing it, if that makes sense. Whatever the case could be, I'm mainly just, my mind's always on it, because the project is reflecting how I see life around me. And I always try and talk about things that I know about rather than things I don't know about, unless I'm going into a narrative. But realistically, that doesn't happen a lot of the time, because especially with singles, I'm mainly just trying to focus on having fun with my singles. But yeah, that is just how it's been. It's been a lot of, work, because I've been doing the engineering and the producing and all that stuff for it. So I mainly just kind of threw the idea at the wall, and now it's about adding the fine lines to it, and there's, the practical things that need to be done, as in mixing and mastering and all of that stuff. Because personally, you can have a project that's got a lot of creative ideas with it, or even just you can approach life with, I just want to be as creative as I can be as possible. However, I've realized as an artist that you want to have an idea of where you're going. You want to think, okay, this is kind of where this is my thought process, this is exactly how I want to execute it. And yeah, it just takes time. That's the thing, because I've had the idea as well as the cover and the just general vibe I wanted to have this project to have, but it's just about now making it to the point where I can be like, yo, okay, now let's actually put pen to paper to say, let's put it into a format where, rather than it's just a feeling, I can actually kind of put it out there in the world. So yeah, that's what it's been like.
What about your music or your project has been on your mind the most?
Well, I think I would just that's a good question, actually. I think the one thing that's mainly been on my mind is just I need to get it done, but not in a way of like, I just want to get out of the way. It's more so like I want to actually realize what I've been working on and writing, because when I make music, I don't write and just go straight into the booth or start recording, because I like to have the idea marinate a little bit before then I can be like, you know what, this actually sounds quite good, this sounds like it can make a song, this sounds like this can go into the next project, or this sounds like whatever. Like, I just kind of think of it a lot of the time as, okay, here we are, let's make this thing, let's sit on it for a bit, because usually I'm making my music at like 3 o'clock in the morning, or I'm making a beat at like 2, some fuck off time in the morning, innit? So like I kind of like to actually give myself a chance to sleep, be like, okay, I've woken up, you know what, once I've woken up and listened to it with a couple hours sleep, I'm like, okay, this actually is good, rather than me sounding like, you know, but rather than I wake up in the morning and sound like shit, or it doesn't have the same desired effect that I once thought it does. Because about 50% of the songs I do end up recording usually end up getting released, but I try and do it a little bit more intentionally, purely based on the fact that I don't want to be kind of wasting my time making something that's not going to come out. Yeah, especially now that I'm kind of at a point where I'm a little bit more tenured in what I'm doing, and I've got more experience like performing and recording and knowing what I'm doing. I like to just do stuff a little bit more like, this is actually going to go somewhere. This has the idea. This is the execution. This is, you know, I just like to try and think a bit more intentionally with what I'm doing. So yeah.
You've got a project coming out soon.
Don't forget to wear us 10th of July.
Project, what's something that you feel is like really captured well in terms, not just like the image that the music paints, but like the feeling that it gives off?
I think one thing that I've done well with this project is, I think I've definitely kind of shown a little bit more of my thoughtful side, and I don't want to sound like one of them, man, but you know, like I've tried to definitely be a bit more thoughtful and intentional with my lyrics and what I've got to say, because when it comes to politics and just the general landscape, personally, I don't like talking about it on a day-to-day basis, because it doesn't come from us as, you know, the regular people to talk about, like, to actually change it. It does, but and a lot of people don't realize it, but not everyone's going to agree because of how society is now. So I was just like, you know what, let me actually kind of give myself an outlet to speak about how I see the world in the direction that it's going. Because yeah, it's one thing to just be like, oh, this party is shit, or these people are fucking us over, or rich people are doing this and they're doing that, and like it's pretty much an obvious thing to the point where no one gives a fuck about saying it anymore. Like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people that do say these things and do, you know, drive home that point, but it's not a collective thing as much as it was probably before the advent of social media. Because once you get the quick access to information and you can pretty much find anything you want to find, a lot of people don't want to do that, myself included. Like, if I'm on YouTube, I want to look at something that's fun or interesting. I don't want to read a case study or read something that I'm like, yeah, this is going to make me depressed all the time. Like, it's, at the end of the day, our phones and pretty much social media is entertainment. It's not a real place. So although it can have real world effects, a lot of people take the positives and they take the negatives and spin it into positives. So the fact that you can access everything doesn't mean you should have access to everything, because once you do have access to everything, it essentially renders your want to have that kind of knowledge and be a little bit more incredulous with how you do things. It renders it mute. Like, it gives people less wanting and less reason to go out there and look for the information once you know, okay, I can just Google it, or AI is going to give me an answer about it within a few seconds, rather than even going onto a website and actually having to look for the information, or having to be like, okay, this website tells me this, maybe I can use this in the future. Our phones and just in general, a lot of the things that we do have at our disposal are becoming less tools to help us and more tools to inhibit us. So that's kind of a thing in this project that as well, that I try and talk about. Like, your phone knows you better than your friends do. Like, and that's a thing that it will even, like, yeah, your phone will tell you certain things that you didn't even think of. Like, there'll be times when I'll be on my phone and I'll be searching for a random thing, and then it comes up with a person, or not even a person, just it comes up saying something that I've never even said out loud. And I'm just like, that don't make sense. You can't be searching for something, and something that you never said out loud, something that you never even searched to your search bar, is somehow coming up, even if you delete it. So that's where my whole thought process of it is. It's just where essentially, like, we've all seen Wall-E, we've all seen those fucking movies where we've all seen a movie where the robots come and kill us, or they come and do this. Like, we've all seen that shit, and it's becoming more of a reality. And us as people, we're not going to think about it. Us as people, we're not going to think about it because, you know, Ruby, real G right there. Yeah. Ruby's chilling, bruv. No, you're good, man. Society's not meant to be beneficial towards the people that they say it's meant to be beneficial towards.
There's always going to be some sort of hierarchy.
Yeah, there's always going to be a difference. There's always going to be a divide. There's always going to be a breadline. There's always going to have to... You can't have rich people without having poor people. So, essentially, it's my viewpoint from this album is a little bit like, okay, like, we can see that this is happening. What do you do to stop it? Because you don't stop it by talking about it on a thread and just arguing with people that are as poor as you are for an hour at a time and just sitting on your phone and clicking on it and doing anything. That's not how you fix a problem. You fix the problem by actually doing something about it. And it's a lot harder to convince people to help themselves. Yeah, as long as you can control how somebody thinks, then you can control how they move. So yeah.
But that like sort of goes back into like what you were saying about how like your phone knows you better than your friends.
Yeah, it does, because essentially, like, more people spend time on their phones and talking to their friends realistically, or being around their friends in the physical, especially as adults. Like, if you're a kid in school, like, you know, you may, the offset may be there a little bit, but it's not there to the point where you can even say it's that much different. Because when I was in school, which wasn't that long ago, but when I was in school, like, you weren't allowed to use your phone, and a lot of people I didn't know that it's a thing in schools where you could use your phone. I didn't know that, but apparently it's a thing. Exactly. And if you had your phone out and listen, they'll take it. So you would have to have, even though like anybody can have their experience of school and how it was, and saying, you know, school was shit at this time, or school wasn't really beneficial to me, then what you can infer from that, but you know, they were still interacting with people. So anybody can and wants to be an influencer now. So it then furthers on to that point of your phone is anybody can and essentially will take any opportunity to be on their phone or treat social media as it is a real place. So yeah, it's just furthering on to that thing where the biggest thing that you can do to somebody or for somebody enable to get what you want of them is to essentially control how they think. And it's a lot easier to get somebody upset about shit than it is to make them happy about shit. So I mean, fucking try this at home. Tell your partner you're cheating on them. Like, they'll have a quick they'll have a quick reaction than if you're not. So it's one of them things, innit, where realistically it's just about, I don't know, like having your phone in your pocket and having a way that you can be controlled leads a lot of people to having these fucked up thought processes and essentially doing the person who wants to control's actions for them by pushing narratives and all that shit further. Like, everyone wants to say, I want to control my narrative, but they don't actually know what that shit means. Like, controlling your narrative is just not being a shitty person. It's not telling people that you're not a shitty person. So, like, I'm a shitty person. Anybody can be a shitty person. Like, I'm a shitty person.
Story, you're the shitty person.
Pardon?
Depends who's the story, you're the shitty person.
Exactly. Like, there's people that I realize that will have that I know have issues with me that I never thought I'd had issues. Yeah, there's people that I have issues with, and vice versa, that never even knew it. Like, there's been situations where, like, I've seen people, they had this type of weird behavior with me, and there's been situations where I've seen people and I may have not been all receptive to them because of thought process, but then the more I was around those people, because they're mutual people, I'm like, oh, this thing is actually cool. This shit. So it's not like it's shit that happened in the moment. It's not shit that defines people.
Going into my next question.
Okay, cool. Go. Yeah. So what's your next question?
You've not just made observations of these realities that we all live in.
Yeah.
But have you also made observations around of people, that your perspective has changed now, babe? Like, either from this project or whilst making music.
Yeah, I mean, like, one thing I like to do a lot of the time is, although when I'm around like people that I'm very comfortable with, I'm like quite a talkative person, but the first thing I do around people that I don't know is I'm not really a talkative person. I don't really go out of my way to have a conversation with them. It's usually because I'm just observing them. And from what I've been told, and from just heard, like, I thought that you had an issue with me, or da-da-da. I was like, nah, bro, I just don't like talking too much unless I have to. And I mean, like this interview, or like, I don't like having to make that first step in having to talk to people, because I'm very much a person that's quite comfortable with being by myself a lot of the time. That's why I don't record at studios often. That's why I don't do a lot of things. Like, making music has really put me out of my comfort zone, because I love music to the point where, like, I'm like, yeah, I actually want to make it, not just I like the idea of making it. Like, I love music to the point where I have to do certain things, like record outside, for instance, record in random fuck off places, do TikTok videos, trying to progress as a person a little bit in life. There's things that I've gone to, or places that I've gone, where my initial thought was, fuck this, I'm just gonna go home and play PlayStation, or I'm just gonna go home and do this, or go home and do that. But essentially, when I've gone outside, I've realized being outside and being with people, that's where the real connection is at. Because I can't do this whole talking to people 24/7 on social media thing, talking to people, like, I can't do it. Personally, me, I just find it a bit uninteresting to be on social media 24/7. So, like, I realized that just being in person with people, you get to learn a lot. Even if it's just learning a lot about somebody else, you can also learn a lot about yourself by seeing shit that other people do. Like, I've observed people, I'm like, why does this bother me? Why does this upset me? Why does this piss me off? Why is them, the way they act, such a big factor into why I don't like how certain things are going on? Why is that way? That's kind of how I've thought about it. And from that, you just learn about yourself. So when it comes to a social setting, I might be a bit more like outgoing or just talking to people, because a lot of the time I might even just not really be in the mood for it, but I've had to force myself to kind of have those conversations or try and be more talkative to people, because I realize you don't get anywhere without people. You can't do everything by yourself. You can't be the type of person you want to be. You can't, like, the type of things that I can see happening for myself, they don't happen if I'm just sitting in the crib in my boxes playing PlayStation all day and eating snacks. Like, bro, like, you need to be outside, you need to connect with people, you need to have conversations with people. And art itself is a reflection of life, and to live life, you can then reflect it. Because as abstract or as amazing as a painting can be, or as fictional as a movie can be, all of them comes from reflections of real life. I feel like a lot of my personal aesthetic and identity just comes from nature in general, because, well, obviously, Kaye, April, blah, 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 and a lot of my albums do have that kind of stuff to do with it. However, it comes into the fact of nature just is, it is where it is. Nature is just being. Like, a flower will grow, bolt, and die, and you as a person can affect it, but if you just leave it to do what it does, then it's going to do what it does. Plants, like the grass around, that's why I like to do a lot of my, like, kind of media or stuff like that in an environment that is a bit more nature, it's got more green stuff in it, because I do see that, like, for me, it represents me. Like, yeah, I do like to dress a little fly now and then. I do like to do a little bit of whatever, but like I feel like I just try and be myself as much as possible, because I'm a very, not like unaware, but I just not really at the point in myself where I can be bothered to be something that I don't care about being. Like, there's a lot of times when I'm just like, you know what, why am I even doing this? Why am I even bothering with this shit? Why am I even doing X, Y, Z? Why am I even doing that? You know, it's just, it don't make sense to be something that you're not, for me. That's why I try and keep it as me as I can. That's why a lot of my songs, all my singles mostly for the most recent, they've just been about shit that's been going on in my personal life. But it's just been about dumb shit. It's not been about shit that actually matters, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I try and do what I do, and I learn and take it on as I can. That's just the best way I can put it. But even furthering on from the don't forget to water us thing, well, I'll let you answer the question and then ask the question, because I know where this is going. So
following on your like what you just said now, like I know like a lot of your music to producing to fashion and other things that you do,
yeah,
it reflects you, but is it like that reflects you as a whole, or is it different versions of yourself, like depending on certain things?
well, I think when it comes to creative stuff, you're never really going to get the whole part of somebody, because you may have an hour or however long an album's going to be, or however long a single is. A lot of people may feel like they're having a conversation with the artist, and the way that the music is speaking to them, they're responding back with how they feel emotionally. But I don't think personally that from an hour of saying something you can get how a person is holistically. That's why you get a lot of artists that have great albums, but they're fucking pieces of shit. So I'm sorry, but like there's a lot of people that are pieces of shit that make great music, and they do a lot of shitty things. And because they are people that are in the spotlight, you're gonna maybe hear about it more. But for me, I wouldn't say that it's more. I would say that it kind of depends. Like, it depends realistically how much effort you want to give into it. Because a lot of people and a lot of artists they do a thing where they kind of display an aesthetic rather than the person that they are. Like, there's a lot of people that I've seen talk about like all that drill shit, or just there's a lot of people that may talk about shotting, selling drugs, doing whatever the case is, yeah, but they ain't never sold drugs in their life. They never bought nothing, they never sold nothing, they ain't never fucked up their reeds, they ain't not done nothing. And me personally, I haven't done anything like that, because I'm a taxpaying citizen.
Their word is the closest thing that you'll get to their truth, unless proof.
Well, I think it's more so about, a lot of the people that don't actually express how they're feeling within their music and are more so talking about the character that they are, they realize that it's business, because they see the music industry, they see it as an industry. They don't see music as an art form, or they may see it as an art form, but they don't see it as in something that they really resonate with, which is why exactly, not every day I'm going to listen to the most deep and thought-provoking shit that I can find on my playlist, because who's got enough fucking time for that? I don't want to cry all the time. Like, no one wants to feel a certain way all the time. I guarantee you there's fucking Michelin star chefs out there that eat fucking McDonald's. Like, it's not a thing that matters, you know what I'm saying? You need to be able to have the good with the bad, which furthers back to my point about people. Like, I'm trying to look at it from all perspectives, right? Like, I personally believe that you have to look at people holistically, right? I think there's a net negative and positive. However, you can also take what you want from those people, because realistically, in this day and age, you can kind of do whatever the fuck you want when it comes to people as a celebrity, artist, whatever the fucking case may be. You can do whatever you want with the artwork. So I think there's a bit of that give and take as a consumer and as an artist. There's a lot of, I'm gonna give people what they want, or I'm gonna give them how I'm feeling. And you also, you get your positives out of it, you get your negatives out of it. You take the you take the comments, you take somebody judging your artwork and how deep you went into it, or the lack thereof, how deep you went into that topic of conversation that you was talking about. So I don't know. I think that I'm as much as Kaye April as I'm, because it's a pseudonym, it's a name, but at the same time, like, I try and be myself as much as possible. It's just because finding myself and finding, what bothers me. Because there's shit that I've always said I would never do, but I ended up doing. There's always ideas that I've thought about that I would have been like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Like, oh, I didn't want to do this, or fuck that, that's long. Like, yeah, there may be a separation from how I conduct myself when I'm at shows versus when I'm just chilling in the crib, but who isn't? Like, people are layered, like onions, as Shrek said. Like, people are layered in it. So realistically, I don't think truly you're gonna ever get the most vulnerable or most honest aspect from an artist you truly can, other than if you know them. But that's a very big but. That doesn't take away from the artwork that people are making, and it doesn't take away from the fact that, I try and put as much of myself as I can into my music without it feeling like I'm a bit overexposed, if that makes sense. Like, I'm never gonna, like, for instance, I'm not gonna tell you when I had a shit. I'm not gonna tell you about, I went to the store this morning. Like, I'm not gonna say things like that, or just things that are very, like, just nonsensical. I may give a summary of how it is, because although I'm very, like, thoughtful in what I'm saying, in terms of when I got something to say, I think about it a lot. I understand that if you don't communicate things properly with people, then they may not understand it. So in general, I just try and be as honest as I can in my work. I try and be as honest as I can, but just like with anybody, I'm going to be the first to admit to you, there may be things that in my music that people that are listening to may find very interesting, or whatever the case is, but I just might not say it. That's just how it is, because I just don't feel it necessary to. Your word holds more weight when you use it less. So when I'm saying something, or when I've got something to say, I'll say it. And hopefully it gets taken a bit more seriously, or it gets taken like it matters, if that makes sense. Because I feel like, although I really love music, I feel like one of the things that is important to me about this is that I want my word to live on. I want things I say to not just end when, I'm gone at one point. I want to leave something behind that perfectly encapsulates how I feel about life in general. So you don't have to ask the question, oh, what would April say if he wasn't here? You already know what I'd say, because I've done enough to the point. Yeah, you already know what I'd say. You know how I feel about it. You know that I would be like, yeah, this is my thought process. This is something that I would have stand for. Like, this is something that I would do. Because even funny enough, I'll actually give a quick anecdote. Basically, long story short, I was in Jamaica a couple months ago, and I went to the Bob Marley Museum. Now, from the type of music that the man made, and from the overall message that he made, especially in being a Rastafarian, I don't believe that him even having a museum like that is something that he would have stand for. I don't think that's something that I don't know. Maybe because this is family that actually runs the thing. I don't know. I can't sit here and say to you, yeah, okay, this is, something that he might have done, like, because niggas got to eat at the end of the day. So I'm not going to go and pass judgment. Yeah, I just don't think it would have been something that he would have stood for. Especially with Rastafarian culture. I just don't understand things like that. That's really one thing that I just don't want to ever happen to myself as an artist. I don't want myself to become an entity that is outside of me. I don't like, there's some people that they become such big artists that they become the artist rather than the artist being a part of them. Like, if you was a piece of shit, then you was going to be a piece of shit from day dot, innit? Like, it's like getting more money is not making you more of a piece of shit. Being a piece of shit don't really have an expiry date. You know what I'm saying? It don't have like, it just don't, it's not a thing that people stop being. It's not a thing that, it just stops happening. Like, if you're going to be a piece of shit, then you're going to be a piece of shit. So My whole point is that, look, it's just going back to the whole thing of, look, I just don't, I never want my artwork, or I never want my voice to be bastardized. Like, one thing about Michael Jackson as well is that he was such a big entity, so much so to the point where it's a guarantee that at this point, his artwork and his Michael Jackson, the performer, the entertainer, I'm taking away, it's a part of the person, but for this point, I'm making a point here. His fame and his celebrity is going to outlast, and it's going to be a longer time than when he wasn't doing that. Because obviously, you know, he was doing it from when he was a kid. But I guarantee you, in 20, 30 years, when they do Thrillers 75, when they do Thrillers 100, bruv, that shit's still going to be making bread. And that's going to be longer than the guy was alive. So my point is, he don't have a say on it. And a lot of Michael Jackson's philosophy and a lot of what the guy stood for was about artist independence. He had to deal with a lot of just the stuff that was happening to his artwork. Everyone knows the story of Off the Wall, bro. Everyone knows it. Like, everyone knows how he had to persevere, and he couldn't essentially be his own person until it, you know, he had to really truly use that muscle, get out of his contract and do what he had to do. But that's one thing that like I can't even sniff the atmosphere that Michael Jackson was at. So there's a lot of things that I can be like, all right, yeah, you know, even if I get to a point where I can even just be able to be like, I can understand 1% of what that guy goes through. That's a privilege in itself. That's not my point. My point is that he was such a big entity to the point where even when he's, you know, no longer here with us, essentially they can still turn that into a piece of something to make money off of. And my whole thing is, that's not a bad thing. But the point that I'm making is that he's such a big entity that essentially the entity became bigger than the person. And a lot, from what I've noticed, even at little small time shitty jobs, a lot of people can't handle that shit. A lot of people can't handle an iota of responsibility being quote unquote above somebody, because no man's above any other man, but they don't know how to manage that shit. They don't know how to. The ego gets to them. They don't know how to be like, yeah, okay, I can do this, but I choose not to. Michael Jackson was one of them people he's a very complicated person, and I'm not going to talk about whatever was going on with him, but you never know. As the famous saying, there's, you know, 3 sides to the truth, innit? So realistically, I don't know. I'm just, as an artist myself, I really do want to be able to have my voice, and I want to be able to say what's going on in terms of how I feel about things, because that's a lot of the stuff that I kind of shied away from talking about earlier on, and when I was, you know, a little bit younger or a little bit more naive of how things were. Because you don't just blow up off of releasing a song and then having, you know, you do a couple bits of promotion every couple weeks. Like, that's not how it works. But I want to be able to have my voice. Whether I'm quiet or whether I'm talking a lot of shit, realistically, I don't feel like my voice is represented enough, in terms of it's represented well to the point where, yeah, I would be happy with it being heard, like somebody coming out with that assumption of me. So I think that's one cool thing about music, is you can say what you want and people can take what they want from it, but I like to be able to have my autonomy over it, which goes back to the whole thing of me thinking about during my time like making this album. Don't forget to War 10th of July, you know what I'm saying, sneaky plug, had to do that. Yeah, that's one thing that I took into account a lot to do with the songwriting during this as well, is that I really like having the option to say yes or no to things. And I feel like because of how things are going, the option to say yes or no it's becoming more slimmer by the day. Like, a lot of people can't leave their jobs they're in now. They can't leave some bullshit job they're in. I couldn't. There's a lot of things, a lot of people can't just be, you know, do what they want to do or they're not fortunate enough to be like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna be able to work on myself or do this. So like a lot of people don't have that opportunity, that luxury. Yeah, contrary to popular belief, it's not because you don't work hard enough, or it's not because, you know, you're this skin color or this. It's not because of that. It's because there's a specific group of people that choose to fuck you over, which is what Don't Forget to Water Us is mainly about. But I think it's mainly just more of a reflective diary. I keep like, that's why I was a bit worried about calling it an album or calling it a mixtape or the kind of thought processes behind it, because I look at it as a reflective diary. There's storylines within it. There's people that may be talked about in it. There's like, you know, famous figures. There's people that I know that I talked about in it. There's bit that is talked about in the album where I'm talking mainly about the feeling of, okay, I'm waking up today. I'm gonna go on the train to work. I might see some crazy shit happen on the train to work, or nothing might happen. Or I might be on the train back from work and a customer was fucking me over, but I can't move because of, you know, I don't know how expensive it is to fucking live in this country and how fucked it is to even be in this type of environment. Yeah, where it's like, yo, of how fucked it is to just be in this world that we're in right now. Don't Forget to Water Us is really just, it's a reflective diary. That's the best way I can put it. And there's obviously, you know, hyperbole, or there's things that, you know, aren't necessarily 100% to the T accurate, but that's also because a lot of the things that I try to talk about is shit that you can relate to other things in general. I try and make it more of a holistic experience rather than, okay, so when I say, oh, this happened, or when I say I did this, or when I say I did that, like, yeah, I did it, or that was said, or that was done, but I try and respect the reality that is there. So I don't want to commercialize the reality, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to just kind of use a story that I've heard, or use something that I've seen happen, or use that just for the sake of putting my artwork out there. Like, when I've included stuff in this album, or when I've spoke about specific stuff in this album, it's more so just about what the thought process is and the feelings of regular people are in London now. With the advent of certain genres and specific, like, you know, uptick in UK rap music in general, and just the UK underground and all that stuff, and just be like, yeah, we're from the UK. I didn't want the appeal to necessarily be, oh, this is a guy from London rapping. I wanted the appeal to be in, this is an everyday experience that people may have, and this is something that everybody can relate to. Yeah, this is something that everybody can bump. Hitman as well, one of my songs on there. Nobody wants to be working a fucking job. Everybody like wants to be living their dreams. Some people get to do that because their dreams can be commercialized into a job. As well as that, there's also the reality of there's things in life that you're just gonna simply have to do. Or I'm gonna try and make my dreams as much of a reality as possible. And there's a lot of hard work that goes into that, but there's also just a thing of trying to navigate this world and not kind of look back at myself as, why am I not doing more, or why am I not in this situation, or why, like, there's a lot of the hard comparison that I know that is bad for you to do, but I still do it anyway, because like, it's hard to not compare yourself to what you're seeing. And although I don't like social media, I'll be a fucking hypocrite to say that I'm not on it all the time. So when you see things like, oh yeah, this person's got this, or this thing's got that, a lot of people will start to look at themselves rather than look at the situation of how it is. Like, yeah, there's self-blame that can be taken from that, but who's saying that a house can triple, quadruple in actual value, but your paycheck doesn't? Because I don't decide paychecks. You don't. A lot of the people that are watching this don't decide paychecks. So who's deciding it?
You've built like a pretty distinct sound that's like unconventional, but also keeps certain aspects of a conventional artist at the same time.
Yeah.
So you've got like your own like sort of signature. So like, do you think your music is trying to preserve something or move away from something?
I never really thought about it like that, because I like making shit that I like making, but because I'm I'm quite like a very like active listener when I'm listening to music. I take stuff from it that I actually like enjoy. I'll look at a lot of songs and be like, why do I like this song? Why is this speaking to me so much? Why do I really enjoy this? Because somebody can be talking about fucking nonsense on a song, but for me, I've realized that if the snare rolls or hit it, like, I don't know, there's just something about like snares that just fuck, like, I love them so much. And then I'll take that and use that in my shit. When I try to deviate away and be like, oh, you know, I want to be the different person, I want to be this, or I want to be that, I realized that I wasn't able to properly like make shit that's good. Because I've met people and I met artists that, you know, their whole point is, you know, you got to throw away the mold, you got to do this, you got to do that. And like, yeah, I understand that point, but you need to kind of know what sounds good and what is this. Just because it's different doesn't mean it's bad, and just because it's not different doesn't mean it's bad either. There's bare things that I've seen that are, like, for me, they're just basic things to hear or listen to, but then somebody says like, oh, this is that, and vice versa. Like, there's things that I understand to a degree, and there's things that I don't understand to a degree. Like, there's bare songs that I've listened to, there's a lot of music that I've listened to where I don't get it, but then I've listened to it later and I'm like, yeah, I get it. Now I get it. Especially with such a grassroots and such a culturally significant genre like hip-hop, I do realize that, you know, there's a lot of shit that you need to actually pay attention to. There's a lot of shit that you need to not pay homage to, like keep on doing niggas covers every 2 minutes, but there's a lot of things that you need to kind of respect, and there's practices that you need to operate with, and there's a lot of there's thought processes that you need to honor, and there's just, like, you know, things that you need to do. So I'm not gonna sit here and say, like, you know, I'm the bee's knees and I'm the shit and I do everything different, blah 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 blah. But realistically, like because I have so much appreciation for certain things, I try and make sure that, you know, my way of keeping it moving forward is by acknowledging where my influences come from. I'll be the first to say, Ye, Travis, bare rappers from the 2000s, fucking, like, even fucking Cameron influenced me to wear fucking fur jacket in a video. There's bare rappers and bare artists, specifically black artists as well, that because of how significant their impact was, I can never come and tell you, yo, I'm not a rapper, or I moved this forward to do this. Like, if it's not for me to say that, it's not for me to sit here and say, yo, I do this, I do that. My main goal is just to make shit that I find is good. And if you say, I've never heard this before, then cool. Like, I like hearing that from people. I like going to shows, or I like going to certain situations, hearing, I ain't heard no shit like this before. I love hearing that. But my main goal is to make something that's undeniable, and I'm not gonna sacrifice the undeniability of it to just say that I made some shit that's cool. Like, I'm not gonna put some dumbass 808 some shit. I'm not gonna do a stupid synth. I'm not gonna make something just because somebody else didn't do it. But I just listen to things and think, okay, yeah, like, this sounds cool, and then I become more of a vessel for the music to just, you know, do what it needs to do. Like, that's why when I start off with the melody, I don't think about it. I just keep going until then the beat's finished. Then when, like, I'm really rapping, or I'm really, like, writing, when I'm writing my songs, that's one of the big reasons why, like, I don't like to write in multiple sessions. I like to just keep it going. So it will take me a while to write a song, but I like to kind of keep it pushing. I like to be a vessel for the artwork that I'm putting out there. So when essentially, like, you ask the question of, am I trying to preserve it or, like, move it forward? I think I'm just trying to
preserve these conventions or move away from these conventions.
I think what I'm trying to do as an artist is I'm trying to make stuff that I like. So I'm trying to make some shit that, like, for me, is undeniable. I want to make shit that you can't say is bad. I want to make shit that, like, I know is dope. I want to make shit that I know is cool. I already know that I myself as a person, I'm an individual. Everybody is special, so essentially no one is. But everyone's special in their own way. And I feel like being yourself as a person, naturally, you'll then be able to make things that, you know, may not have been heard before. Like, yeah, techno or hip hop or just any genre, country music, there's genres for a reason. There's never not going to be genres. There's never not going to be artists that can be grouped together. However, I try and be myself as much as possible within my music and be a vessel. Because I know there's me. I know there's only one me. There's only one me. There's only one me. Like, yeah, people may look similar, but I know there's only one me. So by being that one me that I can be, and being that one me that I can be, and being that one person, and being that person that's myself, I know that whether or not I'm intentionally trying to push something forward, or if I'm trying to do a throwback, or whatever the case is, yeah, I know that because I'm doing it on my terms, that it will then be unique, if that makes sense. So yeah.
So one last question.
Hey.
So I know like you have a lot of like external influences, and you mentioned like if you like something, if you like stepped away from these external influences for a bit, what do you think would start to emerge creatively for you?
That's a fucking good question. I don't know. Because I don't think that's possible, honestly. I really don't. The reason why I don't think that's possible is because I guarantee you, no great artist doesn't have some type of influence. The way that they may have perceived it, though, was what made the ultimate difference for you to then say, yeah, okay, this is now this person's work rather than, you know, this other person. Yeah, somebody adding their unique twist onto something is by them perceiving it and then being like, you know, I can add this or I can add that. So I don't think it's possible to step away from your influences. I think the best thing you can do is embrace them and respect them by not stealing it. Because
But I feel like at some extent it does. It is at some extent it is possible for people that are like innovators, such as yourself.
thank you, I try. Thank you. I think it's possible, but like realistically, you will see something that is groundbreaking. I guarantee you there's a reference for it before. I guarantee you. I don't want to disagree, but I have to, because essentially, the best shit is stuff that is improving on stuff that's already good. I truly believe that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you like, yo, like, you know, everything I do, I've never sampled before. I've never done this. I've never used a drum kit before that wasn't made by me. I'm never going to say that, because that would be untrue. That would be a lie. It would be a lie for me to say to you, essentially, that I haven't sampled before or I haven't used other people's work. Yeah, it would be a lie for me to tell you I ain't never had no influences before. It would be a lie. Me, as an artist and I would say an innovator, it comes in, I can find my references from anywhere. I can find what I like from anything. There's pop songs I like. There's like certain genres of artists that you'll never think, oh yeah, April listens to that person. But I do listen to that person. And that's where it can come from. So I think mainly what I try to do is I try and just do things that naturally come to me, and because I like to explore as much as I can when it comes to the art form in general, or just a lot of art forms or medias, I try and make sure that, you know, them influences, I don't steal nobody's shit directly, or I don't steal anybody's shit, but realistically I also try and make sure that I'm keeping myself as true to myself as possible. So then, like, yeah, I can have an external influence, but I can step away from it by doing it myself, or learning the process or the technique, rather than just learning, okay, this is what this person did, I'm going to rob that shit. I like to learn the thoughts and feelings behind something. So then when I want to make something, I can understand how to do it in a way that evokes that same type of feeling from me and from my work that I did from somebody else's work. So, like, I think that being the type of artist I am now and just gaining as much as experience as I can throughout my lifetime, albeit a short one, just living my experience as much as I can. I'm kind of at the point where I can be aware of what works and what doesn't work for me personally. Because I'm sure there's a lot of genres of music I could make or try to make or want to make that would probably get me a lot further successfully where I am at now. But it's just not what I like doing. It's not what I give a fuck about. I give a fuck about making dope shit that I like making. And a lot of the reason why I make music is because I can have that autonomy to do what I need to do. That's not afforded to in a lot of places. Although, you have to answer to certain people, like you have to answer to your fans, you have to answer to whoever the fuck you want to answer, who pays the bills for a lot of artists. But I like the idea of just having my own autonomy and really just having my own voice. That's where it comes down to. So if I want to make an album about the political and economic state of the world right now, I can. And if I want to make an album saying fuck you to somebody, I can do both. That's kind of where my voice is coming from. Yeah, if I want to make an album about whatever I want to make it, but I can do that. I can speak to myself. I can speak to whoever I want to speak to. I wanna grab that audience, and I wanna grab the people that can relate with it. But yeah, that's mainly where that comes from. So yeah, I think my main thing is just I wanna do some shit that's undeniable. I wanna do some shit, that. So the same way that I'm a vessel for music, I want people to be able to involuntarily, get up, have a little dance, head shake, that foot tap, that little, this shit, that face, that, that lemon face, that, yeah, this is it. This is the shit. I want people to have that with my music. I want people to feel. Because from when people are able to feel something, or in their just mind in general, that may get them to think about maybe what I've said or like maybe my thought process. Because I don't really care for telling people what to do. I don't care to tell people how to live their life. I just want people to live their lives how they want to live it. And if don't force me to be involved, or don't, just live your life, man. That's what I want people to do. I want people to live, and I want what I make to be the soundtrack to their lives. I want them to get up, be like, you know what, I'm listening to some Kaye today because I really understand what my man's saying. I'm really fucking my man. That's essentially what it is. Like yeah, everyone wants to be rich. Everyone wants a certain amount of money. Everyone wants a bag. Everyone wants that autonomy to do what they want to do. But I think my purpose realistically is to just, let people be themselves. I want to remind people to be who they want to be. I want them to remind themselves that they are not the person that some people may describe them as. I want people to, feel as if they can be themselves. Whether how awkward or how cringy it is, how irritating you may think you are, or how cringy you may think you are, just be yourself, man. Because that's what I feel like. That is what my music is mainly about. It's about finding yourself and having some type of autonomy to be like, yeah, this is the type of person I want to be. Because realistically, it's a bit fucked in this world, but right now being yourself is a luxury that a lot of people can't afford. So that's how in this album I wanted to just encapsulate, this is what's going on. This is why, this is it's just a reflective diary. It's just literally just looking at just how things are going, where it may be. But when I do put some little personal tidbits in there or be some things in there, I want people to relate to that, because I want them to be like, I can be this person that I want to be. Like, it would be cool to have somebody can say, yeah, I want to be like Kaye one day, but fuck that, be you. That's what I want people to be. And yeah, from that point, yeah, that's it. That's really what it is. So yeah, don't forget to water us. Coming out 10th of July. It's been real. Appreciate you lot for watching, and yeah, I'm out. This bitch, I'm out.